Hope you are doing great.
I am. Thanks.
I can see that. So yeah, thank you so much. So before my name is Melinda Roy, so I'm the host for this today's event. So before you start your presentation, I would like to introduce you to the audience. So welcome on stage, Stacey Well. So she is a certified life coach. Has spent this past 20 years on a journey to transform our life from a struggling mother to a successful entrepreneur. Through her journey, she has encountered many obstacles, including failed relationships and career mishaps. All of these challenges were designed to help her discover all the hidden triggers that held her back from being the best version of herself. Today, she has a successful career and is well on her way to continuing to meet and exceed all her career and personal goals while living ethically and with integrity. Wow, that's really a great inspiration, Stacy. So yes, the stage is all yours. Good luck.
All right. Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for being here today and for giving me the opportunity to share a very personal part of my life. You may know me today as an entrepreneur, a certified life coach, and per- or perhaps as the bartender at 1933 Lounge in the Indianapolis airport. You see someone who is confident, successful, passionate about helping others. But there was a time when none of those would describe me. There was a time when I was simply surviving. Today, I want to share with you how I went from surviving trauma to thriving beyond it. And because my past disappeared, but because I learned from the past did not have to determine my future. My hope is that somewhere in my story, you'll recognize a piece of your own because trauma doesn't discriminate. It touches nearly every one of us in one way or another. The question isn't whether we experience trauma. The question is, will trauma become our identity or will it become the foundation upon which we build our greatest transformation? Domestic violence was my normal. I wasn't introduced to unhealthy relationships as an adult. They were introduced to me as a child. Domestic violence was normal. Chaos was normal. Walking on eggshells was normal. Being criticized was normal. Feeling like I wasn't enough was normal. And when that's all you've ever known, you don't recognize dysfunction. You call it life. You accept it. You adapt to it. Growing up, I felt my mother didn't love me because I was born a girl and wanted a boy. I lived in fear of disappointing her. She created an environment where I was allowed, where it was taboo to discuss money, religion, sex, and politics. I was disciplined whenever I asked questions on any of these topics. I was told what to say, how to dress, and how I was to behave around other adults. If I did not follow her rules, I was disciplined. I was sent to my room with the phrase, wait until your father gets home. This was in the 70s when it was okay to get a spanking. And that is what my father did. He spanked me. I was taught to fear authority and was shamed whenever I wanted to envision myself hiding in plain sight. I was also bullied at school, mainly because I was shy and dressed differently than everyone else. Dysfunction meant avoiding conflict instead of minimizing it. So I avoided my classmates and cried every time one of them bullied me. Years later, I learned that people tend to bully others to hide their own insecurities. This is a reflection on them, not me. However, I was taught this was healthy way to look at the situation. It was my fault and I was bullied because I didn't matter. As I became an adult, I knowingly recreated the very environment I desperately wanted to escape. I found myself in emotionally and mentally abusive relationships because they felt familiar to me, not because I wanted them, because they felt normal. Many trauma survivors don't choose pain consciously, they choose what feels familiar. And familiarity is powerful in these situations. However, it is not the power that creates success. Eventually, I became a single mother with multiple jobs. After my divorce, my son's father manipulated me into believing I could never survive on my own. He used our son as a weapon against me to continue to control my life long after the divorce. He told me I deserved to live on the street in a cardboard box and I didn't a lo- deserve to love of my son. My life fell apart. I was exhausted. I was financially stressed due to the foreclosure that had led to filing bankruptcy. Because of that, I lost my job and my credit. I had to go on welfare. I was emotionally drained. Trying to raise my son while figuring out who I was, I felt completely alone. I believed I had to carry every burden by myself. Again, I felt shame. I didn't know there was another way. I had hit rock bottom. Then came the moment when everything changed. Sometimes transformation doesn't begin with a huge breakthrough. Sometimes it begins with one conversation, one book, one idea. For me, that moment came when a group of friends introduced me to The Secret by Rhonda Byrne. For the first time, I was exposed to the idea that my thoughts mattered, that what I focused on grew, that maybe, just maybe, I wasn't powerless. Through the work of Rhonda Byrne, I discovered the teachings of John Azaroff and Bob Proctor. This led me to my next breakthrough book, Having It All by John Azaroff. The book completely changed how I viewed success and my brain. John explained that success isn't just about working harder, it's about rewriting the subconscious programming we've carried for years. I realized something profound. I had spent decades programming my mind for survival, not for peace, not for joy, not for abundance. My brain had become incredibly efficient at expecting disappointment because disappointment had been my normal. If I wanted something different, I couldn't simply change my circumstances. I had to change my programming because we all know trauma doesn't end when abuse ends. Many people believe healing begins the day you leave an abusive relationship. I wish that were true. The relationship ended, the trauma didn't. I still overreacted. I still anticipated rejection. I still expected criticism. I still doubted myself. And I still apologized for things that weren't my fault because trauma had become wired into my nervous system. This is the point where I realized life keeps sending messages until the lessons are learned. At one of my earlier bartending jobs, I felt bullied by one of my managers. I reported the bullying to HR and I was eventually terminated. At that time, I thought people were the problem, but I eventually realized life keeps blessing us with lessons until we break the cycle. I still hadn't learned how to manage my triggers. My emotions were costing me opportunities. This realization began the shift from surviving to thriving. This is exactly what Dr. Bessel van der Kolk explains in the book, The Body Keeps the Score. Trauma isn't simply seeing something we remember. Trauma becomes something our bodies remember. Our brain develops protective patterns. Our nervous system learns to stay on alert. Our bodies teach us to react before logical mind has time to process what's happening. That means healing isn't about forgetting. Healing is about teaching your brain and body that you are finally safe. You don't erase trauma, you create new neural pathways. You build new emotional habits. You literally teach your brain different ways to respond. And that realization changed everything for me. I still had my struggles. I still repeated old habits and I started relying on yoga, journaling, meditation, and research to keep me focused on creating my new normal. I had attracted another failed relationship, this time with an alcoholic. Again, I felt shame. I was ashamed that I didn't see the long term effects on how his behavior reflected on my recovery. I fell into old patterns of feeling unworthy of love, kindness, and respect. I knew at that moment it was time to focus on myself and to what was best for me. I had to become aware before could become different. As I learned about personal development and growth, I noticed something. Every emotional reaction has a trigger. Someone would raise their voice, someone would criticize me, someone wouldn't return a phone call, and immediately my body reacted. My heart raced, my stomach tightened, my thoughts spiraled. My situation wasn't always dangerous, but my nervous system believed it was. That's when I realized something incredibly important. Triggers are weaknesses, they're invitations. They point directly to places that still need healing. Instead of asking, "What's wrong with me?" I learned to ask, "What's happening to me? What is this moment trying to teach me?" The question shifted everything. As I continued growing, eventually became a certified life coach. Not because I had everything figured out, but because I had experienced transformation firsthand. Coaching taught me something that therapy doesn't always focus on. Therapy helps others help us unleash our past. Coaching helps us intentionally create our future. Both are valuable, both have their place. Coaching helped me identify limiting beliefs I didn't even realize I had. Beliefs like, I'm not enough, I have to struggle, success is for other people, not for me, I have to earn love. Those beliefs were never facts, they were stories. Stories written by painful experiences. Once I identified these stories, I could rewrite them. And when your story changes, your life changes. This is how you build a new normal. Healing wasn't one giant leap. It was thousands of small decisions. I chose different thoughts, different friendships, different boundaries, different habits, different conversations. I stopped asking permission to become successful. I stopped apologizing for taking up space. I started believing I deserved peace. I built businesses. I became financially independent. I created opportunities instead of waiting for them. Most importantly, I created my new normal. Today, my normal looks very different. Peace is normal. Joy is normal. Healthy relationships are normal. Confidence is normal. Purpose is normal. And every single one of those things had to be practiced before they became natural to me. I'd like to invite you all for a little 5-minute exercise. If you feel safe and would choose to participate, it's a little way of helping identify and managing emotional triggers. So, to begin, if you feel safe, close your eyes. Take a slow, deep breath in, and then another. And then think about a recent situation that upset you. Not your biggest trauma, but something that created frustration, sadness, anxiety, or anger within you recently. Now ask yourself, where do I feel this in my body? In my chest? In my shoulders? Maybe my stomach? Perhaps my throat. Trauma often speaks through the body before it speaks through words. Simply notice. No judgment, no awareness. Step true. It's time to name your trigger. Ask yourself, what specifically triggered me? Was it rejection? Feeling ignored? Being criticized? Feeling out of control? Maybe not being heard? Most emotional reactions are connected to an unmet emotional need or old wound. Simply name it. I felt dismissed. I felt abandoned. I felt unsafe. Naming the emotion reduces its intensity. Now it's time to ask the better questions. Instead of asking, why am I like this? Ask, what old story is showing up for me right now? Is this a reaction about today? Or is it or is today reminding me of yesterday? That simple question creates space between you and your emotions. Step 4. It's time to regulate your nervous system. Let's practice this together. Take a deep breath through your nose. Hold for 4 seconds. 3, 2, 1. Slowly release that through your mouth. Again, take a deep breath through your nose. And release it through your mouth. Now, gently place one hand on your heart. Tell yourself, I am safe. I am here. This feeling will pass. I can choose my next response. That isn't positive thinking. That's nervous system regulation. The next step is to choose your response. Remember this, triggers are automatic. Responses are intentional. Before reacting, ask yourself, what response reflects the person I'm becoming? Not the person trauma created, not the person healing is creating. The one question can completely change your relationship, your decisions, and your life. Know that the best version of yourself already exists. People often ask me, when did you become the best version of yourself? Here's my answer. I didn't become someone new. I became who I was before trauma convinced me I wasn't enough. That little girl that was hiding in plain sight that couldn't be who she wanted to be. Think about that. Healing isn't becoming something else. Healing is removing everything that isn't truly you. Trauma covered my confidence. Trauma covered my joy. Trauma covered my purpose. Healing uncovered them all. If you remember nothing else today, remember these 5 truths. First, your trauma is part of your story. It is not the title of your story. Second, your brain learned survival. It can also learn peace. Third, healing doesn't happen overnight. It happens one intentional decision at a time. Fourth, you don't have to do it alone. Whether through coaching, therapy, mentors, community, or trusted friends, healing happens faster when we allow others to walk beside us. And finally, the best version of yourself isn't waiting somewhere in the future. That person is already inside of you. Sometimes they simply need permission to emerge. If something if someone had told me, the younger version of me, the overwhelmed single mother working multiple jobs, carrying invisible wounds, believing she was completely alone, that one day I would stand before this audience sharing my story with confidence, I would never have believed them. But here I am, not because life became easy, because I became stronger, not because trauma disappeared, because I learned to move beyond it. Today, I don't stand before you as a victim. I stand before you as living proof that healing is possible, that growth is possible, that purpose is possible. And if it's possible for me, it is possible for you. Thank you for allowing me to share my journey. I hope today I hope you leave today with one simple belief. Your past may explain you, but it never has to limit you. Thank you. I've added my QR code in the resources. If you want to look at that, it has links to my social media page, as well as if you want to schedule a consultation with me or have any questions or want to learn more about me. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing an inspirational and motivational presentation with the audience. So, yeah, so here is the question from our audience. So, what beliefs, relationships, or habits are keeping you from living as your authentic self?
Can you repeat that again, please?
What beliefs, relationships, or habits are keeping you from living as your authentic self?
In I guess in my past, it was that belief that I was always to be feel ashamed about who I was and what I believed was true about me. I feel at now that I've overcome a lot of those obstacles, a lot of hurdles. I did live with a lot of fear. I was afraid of anything that wasn't in my normal, and it was very challenging for me to get past a lot of that. But I do feel that, with the resources and new ways of viewing things, and also looking at, asking myself that tough question of what is this trying to teach me, and what am I supposed to learn from this, as opposed to feeling attacked or feeling like I'm not worthy enough to be a strong, successful individual.
Oh, sorry, I'm talking on mute.
I was like, I can't hear you.
Yeah, so thank you so much for sharing your inspirational and motivational presentation with our Global Virtual Summit 2026. So looking forward to hear from you. So many presentations like this and encourage our other speakers as well. And please do join our next speaker. Deborah is already in the backstage, and she is waiting to present her presentation. So please do join our session and give your valuable thoughts. And if you want to reach Stacy, yes, she already gave her QR code at the end, and also you can give your email address so that people can reach you directly in the chat. And so, yeah, we have received at stacy.wells at the rate svcglobal.net. So you can
Yes.
reach out to her if you need any questions, and she will definitely respond to you. Thank you, and you have a great day, rest of the day. Bye bye.
Right.